In the cold waters of the North Sea, 45 kilometers off Belgium's coast, the Princess Elizabeth Energy Island is being built as the world's first artificial energy island. Its goal is to capture wind power from offshore farms, convert it into electricity, and distribute it across Europe. Beyond serving as an energy hub, it is intended to anchor a vast renewable power grid that could make the North Sea the powerhouse of Europe. However, the project faces major financial, political, and environmental hurdles that will determine its impact on Europe's clean energy future. Why Belgium needs an energy island? At first glance, it might seem odd that a relatively small country like Belgium would take the lead in building such an ambitious project, but Belgium has already become a quiet powerhouse in offshore wind. With 8 offshore wind farms currently in operation, the country ranks 7th in the world for offshore wind power capacity. That is no small achievement for a nation of just over 11 million people. Belgium's ambitions extend beyond its borders. Back in 2016, Belgium joined with 8 other North Sea nations to create the North Sea Wind Power Hub, a framework designed to coordinate renewable energy projects across the region. Instead of each country developing isolated wind farms and networks, the plan was to integrate them into a shared grid, enabling electricity to flow across national borders depending on where it was needed most. Even landlocked Luxembourg, which has no coastline, signed on to buy power from the North Sea grid. The motivation behind these partnerships was not only environmental but also strategic. Europe has long depended heavily on fossil fuels, and the 2015 Paris Agreement committed the European Union to cutting emissions drastically. Renewable energy was the only path forward. This commitment became even more urgent in 2022 when Russia's invasion of Ukraine upended Europe's energy security. With natural gas supplies restricted, the continent was forced to look for alternatives. Offshore wind suddenly became not just a climate solution but a geopolitical necessity. At the North Sea Summit in 2023, 9 countries, including Belgium, pledged to quadruple their offshore wind capacity by 2030 and increase it tenfold by 2050. To achieve such extraordinary growth, Europe would need thousands of new turbines and, crucially, a network of hubs to manage and distribute the electricity. Energy islands became the answer. Inside Princess Elizabeth Energy Island, the Princess Elizabeth Zone, located southwest of Belgium's existing offshore wind farms, will host hundreds of new turbines capable of generating 3.5 gigawatts of electricity. At the heart of this zone will sit Princess Elizabeth Energy Island, a 6-hectare hub that consolidates, converts, and distributes the energy flowing from these offshore farms. The island's purpose is not just to gather power, but to make transmission more efficient. Without it, each wind farm would need its own set of cables to transport electricity back to land, a costly and inefficient approach. By collecting the power from multiple farms and channeling it through a single infrastructure, the island reduces redundancy and improves reliability. What makes the island even more innovative is its ability to handle both alternating current and direct current. Most homes and businesses rely on AC power, which is efficient for short-distance transmission. However, over long distances, AC becomes wasteful because it loses too much energy in the process. DC, by contrast, is far better suited for transporting electricity across borders with minimal loss. That is why the island is being designed as a giant conversion station. Turbines will send AC power to the island, where it will be converted into DC for long-distance transmission. This setup not only allows Belgium to receive the electricity, but also enables the island to serve as a transnational hub, distributing power to its neighbors. 2 massive undersea cables are already planned. One, called Nautilus, will connect Belgium's island to a British energy hub, while another, Triton Link, will link it to Denmark's planned hub. Together, they represent the first steps toward a true European energy grid that could eventually transform how the continent powers itself. By 2050, the North Sea network is projected to generate 300 gigawatts of power, enough to supply 300 million homes, a figure that exceeds the total number of households in Europe. Building an island from scratch. Belgium's grand vision comes with a logistical problem. The country has no natural islands in the North Sea. To house its energy hub, engineers needed to build one from scratch. The construction process begins with enormous caissons, hollow concrete blocks designed to withstand the harsh marine environment. Each caisson measures 58 meters in length, rises up to 32 meters high, and weighs an incredible 22,000 tons. Anchored to the seabed 18 meters below, they form the foundation foundation of the artificial island. Constructing a single caisson takes around 3 months and the labor of hundreds of workers. Once transported into place by tugboats, the caissons are filled with sand and water to sink them into position. Rubble is then added to reinforce their stability. A total of 23 caissons will form the island's perimeter. Inside this ring, dredgers will deposit 3 million cubic meters of sand, which is compacted using a method known as vibroflotation. This process involves injecting water and shaking the sand until it solidifies into a stable foundation. With the base in place, engineers will coat the surface with concrete, build a high protective seawall, and establish facilities such as a harbor and a helipad. The island is expected to serve as a base for workers maintaining the infrastructure, but when unstaffed, it will rely on robotic assistance. Robot dogs, already tested on offshore platforms, will patrol the island, inspect installations, and transmit images back to shore. It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but this technology is very real and already in use. The initial target for completion was set for 2028, though financial and technical hurdles have cast doubt on that timeline. Environmental considerations. A construction project of this scale inevitably raises environmental concerns, and the Belgian developers have taken steps to reduce the ecological impact while also attempting to create new habitats for marine life. One of the measures is the use of specialized low-carbon cement that reduces the project's carbon footprint by 40% compared to traditional materials. Beyond cutting emissions, engineers have designed the island to encourage biodiversity. Artificial reefs will be installed around its foundations, providing surfaces for shellfish to cling to and creating varied conditions to support marine ecosystems. Oyster beds will be introduced to help jumpstart these new reef communities, which, once established, can even help protect the island's structure from erosion. In addition, the island's seawall will include ledges designed to attract black-legged kittiwakes, a species of gull that has been under threat. Developers describe this as a win-win approach, building critical energy infrastructure while also supporting marine and bird life. Environmental groups, however, remain cautious. They argue that while these measures are promising, the long-term impact of such a massive artificial structure on sea life and fisheries remains unknown. For now, the project enjoys broad support from those eager to see fossil fuels phased out, but scrutiny is certain to intensify as construction progresses. Rising costs and delays. Rising costs and delays threaten Belgium's Princess Elizabeth Energy Island. Initially budgeted at 2.5 billion euros in 2021, the project's cost has surged past 8 billion euros by 2025, driven by inflation and a shortage of high-voltage DC equipment. With only a few suppliers and soaring global demand, prices have escalated, alarming energy buyers. In early 2025, a major trade group urged a pause and redesign, prompting the construction company to halt and eventually cancel the DC conversion systems central to the island's role as a transnational hub. While caisson construction continues, doubts now surround the project's future and its launch date. First 2030, then 2032 looks increasingly unrealistic. A wider European struggle. Belgium is not the only country facing these challenges. Denmark, which also planned an ambitious energy island in the North Sea, has delayed its project until at least 2036. In early 2025, Denmark went further, suspending financing for offshore wind development altogether while it reconsidered its energy strategy. These delays reflect a broader problem for Europe. The continent's plans for a massive renewable energy transition are colliding with harsh economic realities. Supply chain bottlenecks, rising material costs, and political uncertainties are threatening to derail projects that just a few years ago seemed inevitable. Offshore wind remains one of Europe's most promising sources of renewable energy, but the road ahead is proving far more difficult than expected. And that wraps up today's deep dive into Belgium's $7 billion Princess Elizabeth Energy Island. What do you think? Will this bold vision succeed, or will the costs and challenges sink it before it ever powers the continent? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see more stories about mega projects shaping our world, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe to the channel.